Hey, welcome to Geek Freaks. I am Frank, and today I'm joined by Thomas.
What's going on, everybody? I'm a little tired.
Thomas had one of the most epic weekends ever. Let everybody know what you were doing this weekend, man.
Yeah, so I got to do San Diego Comic-Con. It's always been a dream of mine. I've always wanted to go. There was a long time where I was a closeted nerd, and I've always been such a super nerd at heart. And San Diego Comic-Con was always that event. You know, it's like a nerd Coachella. Like, you gotta be there. And yeah, I eventually and now have been able to say I've gone to San Diego Comic-Con, which was amazing. That was so awesome.
I like the idea of being a closeted nerd because I think that's something that today geeks and nerds don't have to deal with. But when we were kids, yeah, like for me, it's the band room, right? Everybody had the band room that they can go to during lunch that was like, every day we play Pokemon.
Yeah. Oh, man, I can't tell you how many panels we're talking about how they were closeted nerds. And then now it's like, this is a place for you to just let it all out. And some people were definitely letting it all out in not a PG way. So that was also, I didn't mind that being an adult.
Yeah, extreme cosplay.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man, the cosplay was out in full fashion. No pun intended. Like people went so all out and it was awesome. Yeah, but we can get into the weeds of it all in a little bit.
Well, let's start about cosplay. Actually, I like that. I did. Did you see the rhino walking around?
I did.
How epic was that?
Incredible. I mean, that was one of the coolest costumes for sure. There's these two Transformers that show up, and it's like a 8-foot tall, 9-foot tall Bumblebee. What's the Decepticon leader? I can't think of his name. Megatron. Yes, thank you, Megatron. Those were incredible. I saw an awesome Lucifer Morningstar from the Sandman. There was an insane Queen Amidala. Shout out to Handmade Cosplay. There was some, of course, Power Rangers. So many Spider-Verse characters and done incredibly well. I mean, there was a bunch of Miles walking around. There was some Hobies that were sick. The Prowler was there. I'm trying to think of what else.
There was one Hobie that I was like, my God, MCU needs to hire this guy. That is crazy.
Definitely. I mean, for everything, just across the board. One of my buddies, San Diego Thor. I mean, the dude is jacked and he looks like Thor. He had an amazing showing. He was walking around with some of the best Marvel cosplayers. Like, they all look like they could be in the MCU, or at least stunt people. Like, they're solid. So that group was fantastic. Man, yeah, anime was out in full fashion. So many My Hero Academia, so many Demon Slayer characters that looked incredible. Man, yeah, I just can't say enough. But the cosplay was, yeah, a standout this year for sure.
What I want everybody to do is to head to TikTok right now and look up Cosplay Repair Dad. Did you happen to run into Cosplay Repair Dad while you were there?
No, I didn't, but I heard about this. Yeah, I heard about that guy. He's a hero. Real life hero.
Comes with a full toolbox of cosplay repair items. And of course, number one is Gorilla Glue, because glue is cosplay gold. And he would just go around, and if anybody had a mishap or a malfunction, which happens constantly at conventions, for both booths and cosplayers, I can tell you that much as a booth person. He was there. They were like helping, fixing things. And they just did so many TikToks over the weekend of them patching shoes, fixing belts, just random tools and weapons and stuff they were fixing. And it was just like, dude, this guy is a hero to so many cosplayers right now. It's awesome.
Yeah, he's amazing. I've seen that. And that was crazy because it came up a lot on the panels. I mean, that's the thing with cosplay. You know, it's like, we just get to appreciate it if you're not a cosplayer yourself. You get to look at it and be like, oh, it's amazing. And I kept thinking, because it was hot for San Diego. I know if you're in Arizona or whatever, you're like, shut the F up. But here in San Diego, it was sticky and hot for me. And people were talking about, yeah, this fell off and you need duct tape or a safety pin. And that's a big thing. But yeah, they work so hard. And I just appreciate all the effort that people put into their costumes and cosplay, because it was incredible. They did a solid job.
Outside of cosplay, of course, there's a bunch of displays and stuff like that. You sent so many cool pictures over. You've been posting them over on the Joystick Show feed, so you guys follow Joystick Show everywhere you can. We've been posting some of them on Geek Freaks. I particularly really liked all the Star Trek stuff. We had the suits, we had the ship models and everything like that. How did Star Trek do there?
Oh my, Star Trek had one of the best showings, I think, at San Diego Comic-Con. And as a new fan, thanks to you, that I've gotten into Strange New Worlds. And shout out to a new friend, Giraffe from Strange New Worlds Pod as well. Man, Star Trek brought it this year. There were so many outfits. I don't know what the different colors mean still, like between the blue, yellow, and red, but they were everywhere. It looked incredible. Like Star Trek fans, actually, one of the best panels I went to was the biology and evolution from a real scientific standard. I don't think that was the name of the panel, but it was something like that. That's what the panel was about. And that was one of the coolest panels I went to, which was like the science in Star Trek and whether it's real or not. And they just did such a good job. Again, Lyrical Giraffe on Instagram was moderating it. It was so cool. And the fans were so into it. And they were asking such smart questions. I walked away, I'm like, Star Trek fans are just really smart. And this is probably why I was never into it. Because like, I don't think I was smart enough to understand Star Trek back in the day. And now that I've had a little time to sit around, thanks to COVID, and read, I think my intelligence is enough to enjoy Strange New Worlds. And man, it was awesome. The booth for Strange New Worlds as well was amazing. It was interactive. I didn't wait in the line, but you could wait in this line and then sit in the captain's chair and then take this picture or video. It was cool. And they had all the costumes out there. And one of the Hilton that's right next, it's either the Hilton or the Marriott that's right next to the convention center, was fully wrapped in all the Star Trek stuff. It was Strange New Worlds, and I don't want to say Prodigy, but maybe it was Lower Decks or whatever, those characters around the building. But man, what a time to be a Star Trek fan, man. It was, Star Trek brought it this year for San Diego Comic Con.
Can you tell, what was Draf's podcast again, one more time, so everybody can subscribe to it?
Yeah, it's called Strange New Pods. If you are enjoying Strange New Worlds and not listening to Strange New Pods, I think it's a giant miss. It's such a great companion podcast to go with the show. All of the panelists, or I guess co-hosts on that show, are well-versed in it. They're super fans. They love it. But then they bring on either scientists or attorneys to talk about the real-life law or science in Star Trek, along with being the super fans. It's really, really well done. And yeah, I really appreciate linking up with that group and getting even more immersed in the Star Trek universe. That's
cool. What a great format for a podcast too. While we're talking about Star Trek, let's go over some of their announcements. First off, we got a release date for Star Trek Lower Decks. That's coming out September 7th. Have you watched Lower Decks yet?
So I just started the crossover episode that they're doing with Strange New Worlds. I just started that last night. Didn't finish the episode. So that's my first time ever seeing anything Lower Decks. And man, it was already cracking me up in the 15 minutes I watched. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going back and watch this. So I haven't watched the full season yet, but I will.
Lower Decks is one of those weird odysseys that's it's kind of Rick and Morty feeling, but it's not as hardcore. And a lot of it is kind of all Easter egg based, but still you could really enjoy it. And you just like, all of a sudden you're like, this episode was good enough to win an Emmy. Why is there's no reason for this episode to be so well done. Kind of a Bob's Burger thing, right? Where all of a sudden you're like, how did they just make this amazing episode out of nowhere? So please check out Lower Decks if you guys are Star Trek fans at all. That's really good.
Yeah.
We also learned about Subspace Rhapsody, which is going to be a musical episode of Strange New Worlds, which sounds odd, I'm sure, but Strange New Worlds is going to be doing an interesting episode. I'll call it that. Each season, last one, they had one that was all based on a fairy tale. And I think this one's going to be the musical. We'll probably get one of those every season. And I'm just going to say keep an open mind, because I know myself, I'm like, I'm not a big musical fan.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think the fantasy episode was really cool. Like, it wasn't my favorite episode, but there was a lot in it that was very interesting. And the way they wrapped up the science in the fantasy, I thought that was so well, so well done. And yeah, I'm a fan of the musical every once in a while. There was an episode of The Flash that was a musical as well.
That's right.
And I dug that episode a lot.
That was a crossover great. With Supergirl, right?
Yes. Yep, exactly. And they all got to sing. And it was so impressive, some of the other actors' voices. And I was like blown away by it. So I'm actually excited to see that in Strange New World. Like, if I get to see Pike belted out and he has an amazing voice, I'm going to be like, Anson Mount can do no wrong. Like, the guy's amazing at everything.
Straight. Dude is awesome.
Yeah.
And then they showed us a little bit of Discovery. They're entering their final season. And they showed off some of their AR that they're using. And they call it AR, but basically it's kind of like stagecraft, kind of like an advanced green screen they use for everything. And we see it in Strange New Worlds. It's how they do the engine room. It's definitely an elevation to how Star Trek does their sets. And looking back at like how Voyager and Next Gen did things, they literally had sets that would like lift up into the rafters and move around and then drop down from the rafters. now it's such a bigger operation than that, which is pretty neat. And I'm just glad to see that Discovery is getting one last season, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Dude, the engine room, to your point, I was watching the latest episode last night, and I was watching it, and Uno was in the engine room. I'm like, this looks incredible.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. The other thing over there, we had Walking Dead had a bunch of stuff going on. Are you a Walking Dead fan at all?
You know, I watched the whole first season, and the more I watched, the more I kind of fell out, and especially when they killed what's Stephen Ewan's character. I'm like blanking on it right now. Yeah, when they killed Glenn, I'm like, I'm out. That was too much for me. That's kind of where I stopped. But yeah, I appreciate it. I think I read a lot of the comics, so that was really cool to see it come to life. That
helps. Well, yeah, I think there's just too much of it as kind of the running theme for Walking Dead. We have we have all of the 11 seasons as the main Walking Dead show. We have maybe 7 spinoffs now, which is pretty ridiculous. But they did show some footage from some of the new spinoffs. We have Daryl Dixon. It's going to be focusing on Daryl now in France. You guys, if you watch the trailer, you'll be right away like, oh, this is The Last of Us. It's The Last of Us. He's going to get a kid who he has to like transport across the country and watch over them. You're like, okay, I know exactly what's going to happen with this. We've seen it countless times.
Yeah, I'm sure that's really going to work out well for them on that show.
Yeah. We also have Dead City, which actually already started airing, and that's the spinoff that's just Negan and Maggie working together in Manhattan. The show is trying so hard to make those two work together. I keep going back to, you killed Glenn. I'm like, there's never a point in time where that's actually going to work, but they keep trying to make it to where these two have to team up. I don't know. It just doesn't feel natural to me. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't watch the show, but I watched the trailer, and the trailer looked pretty good. Like, I was like, wow, actually, I'm interested in that. Did I go and watch it? No, but it looked interesting. So, yeah, you know what's funny? I didn't see a lot of The Walking Dead there at San Diego Comic-Con. I didn't see many zombies this year. There was a lot of other kind of horror aspects, but that wasn't a big showing. And yeah, I'm not sure if they had any presence in the convention themselves.
They just did the panel, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't see it. It didn't like make waves in San Diego Comic-Con. That's no offense to it. I might have just not heard it. But I don't know, man. I think I'm done on The Walking Dead. You know, no offense to them. If you like it, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy they continue to make it. But yeah, I think for me, I'll stick to The Last of Us. I'll say that.
I'm finishing up the last season of the main Walking Dead, and I actually feel like it's homework. I feel like at this point, like I'm just like, okay, I get it. Like, oh, hey, this, the Commonwealth looks good, and I'm to the point now where I'm like, I would find it so much rewarding just to go read all the comics. I don't know. But I'm at the point where it's like, I'm in the last season, let's finish this stuff. And then 2 more spinoffs real quick. They showed some footage from the final season of Fear the Walking Dead. That's another show that I dropped off of. But the one that might have me, I gotta admit, is The Ones Who Live, Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. And that's the Michonne and Rick series. And I think that's going to be their biggest one because, of course, that's the 2 biggest names. And Rick's been missing for a while. So I think that'll do well. But yeah, there was times at San Diego Comic-Con where Walking Dead was the event, and now it's just not there,
Yeah, well, is it Alan Rickman, I think is the name of the writer who wrote the books?
Robert Kirkman.
Kirkman, wow, way off.
Alan Rickman is Snape from Harry Potter.
R.I.P., man. I'm always thinking about Snape. But Kirkman, I think the big showing for him this year was Invincible. There was a lot of Invincible presence out there, and Invincible was going around. There was a lot of cosplay for that. There was some Adam Eves, and that show launched, I think the new trailer launched at Comic-Con. Yep. And man, it was awesome. I think that looks incredible. I was such a fan of season 1, and season 2 looks like it's going to deliver. I think there's also like a spinoff with an Adam Eve origin, which looks badass as well.
You should watch it. Yeah. It's out now. I watched it last night.
Really?
Yeah.
So how is it broken down? I haven't had time to look into it.
It's basically a movie. It's basically a movie just about Adam Eve and her origin. And then at the very end, they do like, meanwhile, what Mark's been doing. And it's just like him in duct tape pretend suits. It's very, very good, though. And it got me excited I have to rewatch season 1 again, really. And one of these days I got to dig into those books. But man, they're thick and heavy. Yeah, that was actually next on the docket. Season 2 is going to be coming out November 3rd. We're going to definitely be talking about that. I think we might need to do it on Challenge Accepted as well, just because this story is so incredible. And I can't wait to see how Mark does without his dad. Spoiler alert for season 1.
Yeah. Oops. No, totally. I think, yeah, we probably need to review it. One of the craziest shows, not even just for adult animation, but just shows that I've seen in a while. Like, it has that boys factor, and it is very fitting. Not trying to promote it a WGA strong, SAG after strong, but it is one of the craziest shows I've seen on Amazon Prime, and it has that shock and awe like The Boys. Man, it got me. It shocked me. It surprised me. The characters are sweet, but also it gets so gory at times.
It does.
And man, it's a heavy show. So definitely not for kids, but man, I loved it. I cannot wait for season 2. Again, Stephen Ewan again is the main guy. He's Invincible. Yeah. A guy can, again, another person who could do no wrong between Beef and Invincible and The Walking Dead. I mean, the guy's amazing. And now some Marvel movie that he's going to be doing. But yeah, Invincible had a hell of a showing at San Diego Comic-Con.
J.K. Simmons is confirmed to be returning as Omni-Man too. They made sure to make a real big deal out of that because, like, he as Omni-Man, the dialogue between him and Mark in that show, it's just like so good. And when you have these two amazing voice actors going at it too, it's just like, it's so well done. Yeah, I'm really excited for that. They also confirmed that he's going to be voicing his character in Mortal Kombat. So that's also just like, yes, Omni-Man in Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly.
Homelander versus Omni-Man. I mean, can we get that? So I'm so happy to finally do that. I might buy the game just to put those two against each other, you know?
Totally. There was some post out there that was like, can you imagine the dialogue between these two characters in Mortal Kombat? It's going to be insane. And I was like, 100%. I might have to get Mortal Kombat just to see that. I mean, and then throwing Peacemaker on top of it.
I know, right?
Oh, so sick. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. What a hell of a year for fighting games. Between Tekken, the new Street Fighter looks incredible. And then you throw on this Mortal Kombat with these insane characters from these shows. Man, it's a time to be a fighting game fan.
Yeah, and then with Mortal Kombat, like any other year, if you said like, oh, we have Peacemaker and it's going to look like John Cena and everything like that, you're like, oh, cool. But he's being so overshadowed by the fact that it's 3 of them and it's so freaking awesome. I know for sure Squeaks will get that. I know he's going to do the review for us. Thank you, Squeaks. We appreciate it. But that's just cannot wait. That's going to be a monster game. That's going to be really good.
Yep. Stay tuned on pushing buttons.
There or level up. Level up. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
I forget to. All right. Let's move on to some more superheroes. We got the Marvels trailer. By the way, guys, we're going to talk about SAG-AFTRA at the very end of this. So I know you might have questions going on right now. I'll talk about that at the very end. Okay. So the Marvels released this trailer. And I got to say, this is the first trailer I was like, I think I'm into this now. Because I think they're finally creating a cohesive team that makes sense. Before I was just like, their names are Marvel. I get it. You're gonna force Monica Rambeau to stick with the Marvel's name just so that Captain Marvel so you could use this. But now I'm like, okay, I can actually see how their strengths are gonna work together. What did you think about this new trailer?
Well, first off, I'll say that I think it dropped on Saturday. You know, and I was running around on the floor and going to different panels and whatnot. But I got to see the costumes from it. The costumes look amazing. Yeah, we'll definitely, I assume, post it on Geek Freaks. It's on Joystick Show right now. But it felt like that trailer would have been released at San Diego Comic-Con, probably in a Hall H panel, and that would have been really, really cool. So that's immediately where my mind went when I saw that it came out. But yeah, it looks great. I was already on board. I love Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. I love Tanoa Paris as Spectrum. Like, both of them are so sick. We've already reviewed Captain Marvel on Challenge Accepted, so you can hear what I think about Brie Larson and everything on that channel. But it looks great, man. I've already been on board, especially because I've been digging Secret Invasion. You know, we've been talking about it week to week, and the scrolls of it all has been really interesting. I've really liked Ben Adir, who's, you know, played Gravik. All of this stuff feels like it's culminating in the Marvels, and I really want to see where that ends. And from the first trailer where you get that Beastie Boys track and, you know, you see Iman interacting with the 2 other characters, it just felt so fun and so complete. And I think this is kind of the character that Captain Marvel needed to kind of soften things maybe a little bit, because she's a tough, hardcore character in some ways. And Miss Marvel, as we know, is just joyous, a kid, a super fan. This is just great. It looks so much fun, man. I think this new trailer is fantastic, but they had me sold on the first one.
Well, I think with this one, I think you're right. Right there where you have it, where we're going to have Captain Marvel, kind of this hardcore older sister vibe. We're going to have Miss Marvel just goofing off. And I think that's going to be, but also the heart of the situation too. Like goofing off comes with something too. It's the heart. Just like Mikey with TMNT. A lot of times you felt the emotion through Mikey. And then I think just from the trailer and just kind of what I'm getting from the promotional art, I have a feeling that Monica is gonna rise up as a leader in this. And I really am looking forward to seeing Spectrum become maybe a Shield level leader or something like that, that could really elevate her beyond just the Marvels and not just live in the shadow of Captain Marvel, which I think, unfortunately, I mean, the comic books, it's not so much this, but in the MCU, I feel like she lives in that shadow too much right now. And I think that's going to be changing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's ebbed and flowed in popularity between the Spectrum character and the Captain Marvel of it all. And yeah, it's been ebbing and flowing. I am excited just to see them all interact. And I do believe that Spectrum will take over eventually. Because in the real life situation, we know that Brie Larson has not always had the easiest time playing the Captain Marvel role, just from outside forces. You know, I feel like maybe she hasn't always handled the media so well, in my opinion, but I also feel like they've been unfairly targeting her with unfair questions too. I mean, just really questions that, you know, probably nobody should be asked. It just seems weird that you put a mic in front of someone's face and then I'm asking them those questions. But yeah, you know, I can't say anything bad about her. I'm so excited about this movie. Again, look at the costumes. We posted them online. They look so dope. And it's weird. They're so unique in each aspect, but still feels like the MCU and still feels like it connects. It really is awesome. It's like when you first saw the Avengers, like all their costumes are different. Yes. We're talking all different colors, all different shapes, all different spectrums of shiny and dull and blah, blah, blah. But it all works together. And I think their costumes all work together too. And oh, dude, oh man, can't wait for this movie.
Check those out. Yeah, they definitely reflect the personality of the character too, which we can go in on that more. But realistically, like, just go look at the pictures and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. So I'll make sure to post them on our thing, but also Joystick Show has them over there. So check it out over on Joystick Show. I'll put links in the description for Joystick Show if for some reason you guys aren't subscribed yet. All right. Now with Marvel not there and DC not there, overall, how did you think San Diego Comic-Con felt? Because I think in past years, Marvel and to a degree DC have been like this anchor, like, you know, that's been holding it all together. Do you think the show suffered from it?
Yeah. So first off, I'm gonna say it was, you know, with everything that's going in Hollywood and all the moving and shuffling and last minute cancellations, I think they did an incredible job of adapting and really trying to make it feel full with entertaining panels. And the exhibition floor, I don't feel like got hit too much at all. But with that being said, it, for me, definitely felt like there was a little bit of a gap. And that would have been filled up with amazing actors and amazing writers and people attached to these upcoming projects. You know, I would have loved to see the cast of Blue Beetle. I would have loved to see the cast of the Marvels. I would have loved to see, you know, if Aquaman was coming out. I'm trying to think of what other kind of geeky movies are coming, but man, that, you know, it would have been incredible. And I think they would have been there had they not had this strike happen. So yeah, to me, again, amazing job all around, but it did feel like there was a little bit of a gap with these projects not being there.
A little lighter. Like, I know you were saying Sunday seemed pretty bare in comparison to what you would assume it would be. I will say, though, on the other side of it, I did feel like the comic books got a bigger portion of the pie attention-wise, which felt really good to me. I was like, oh, this is going on my... I mean, Andy Samberg's coming out with a really good comic. We'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, there are definitely things that I know would have been overshadowed by... Because if you think about the Superman announcements we've had in the last 2 weeks of casting and stuff, that would have been done today. That would have been done this weekend. There's no doubt that would have overshadowed these comic books that got announced. You know,
you're so right. I said this to somebody sometime at Comic-Con. I'm like, this is what Comic-Con probably felt like 20 years ago, before all the big movie studios were just, you know, pouring a ton of money, having these massive activations, making a big deal of all the actors coming out. So you're right. Like, it was an awesome year for comics to shine and video games and anime. Mm-hmm. I think all of those things were really well done. Man, there's so many comic books coming out that I should have, like, I need to pull money out of retirement to buy these comics. There's so many damn amazing comics coming out, right? We got Gods, we've gotten the Andy Samberg book you're talking about. There's our Gargoyles run. Tom Taylor did an amazing panel with Jim Lee, and Jim Lee just was kind of talking about the future of Superman. Yeah, and there's I don't think this is a spoiler. I think this is announced, okay to say, because it was announced at Comic-Con, but they are doing a Godzilla versus Kong versus Justice League run that I already want in my hands and like my eyeballs looking at, because it looks insane. It looks dope, man. It's so sick. So yes, DC brought it. I thought DC's panel was so good. Jim Lee again was there in the flesh and just kind of talking about everything. And yeah, what Tom Taylor is going to do with the Titans, who, if you're not fully caught up on the DC universe, they're like the new Justice League. Like the Justice League has gone off and done their own things. They've kind of disbanded a little bit. And the Titans have stepped up and have been DC's main superhero team right now. And the direction he's going with it is so sick. And I'll leave it with this. He called it Garo.
Okay, there we go. I actually had somebody on Headlines ask me, like, where should I start with comic books if I'm new to it? And I said, go get Teen Titans. Teen Titans is where you start right now. Yeah. Because it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. By the way, everything we're talking about, there's an article on gfpods.com or geekfreakspodcast.com. And there's one just for the Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. And there I actually have panels from the comic book. So you can see how Godzilla's going to emerge from the water and Clark Kent's there to see him. And it's like, yes.
Yes. Dude, it's awesome. Yeah, I think it's Legendary Film or whatever, but they're the one who does Godzilla and Kong. And this is their like comic book portion of the studio, which is really cool. Shoot, what else was I going to say about that? I forgot. I lost it. My bad. Move on. I'm sorry. And something there, okay. But man, great time for comics. Great time.
Other comic books we want to talk about. New Punisher's coming. I did not know Frank Castle stepped back. So this was news to me because I didn't keep up on the Punisher runs. But Frank Castle's stepping back, and we have Joe Garrison, who's a former S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Ops member, that's going to be taking over the position. And it looks like his suit's a little bit more, I would say, modern tactical than it is like the Punisher suit. Punisher's just like, look at me with my cool skull on my shirt. This one feels like a little bit more like Black Widow-y. So I'm wondering how that'll affect his run. But they did say it'll stay gritty, it'll stay adventurous, and they want to make sure that old fans can enjoy this and new fans can jump in. Did you get a chance to check out our new Punisher?
Yes. So I'm not really familiar with that character, but I think it's interesting to swap it up. I mean, all these other characters, you're talking Captain America, Spider-Man, have different versions of their character. And this one, Joe Garrison, is like an interesting new imagining of it. Man, I also talk about new imagining. The skull on the chest where the clips, the different pack, whatever you call them, like different clips are the teeth or formulate the face. So sick. So sick. He looks awesome.
It makes it so you have like these like light up, almost look like vents or something like that, but that's the eyes of the skull. Like it all makes sense. It's just like, oh, it's still familiar though. It's a dope look. And it very much like his two guns almost look futuristic in a way. And it's just super badass.
He is. Yeah. I can't wait to get my hands on that book too.
And then X-Men really lit it up too. They had their own panel. We're going to have the new X-Men showing up with Krakoa is going to be collapsing probably pretty soon with the Fall of X event that's going on right now. And then we're going to have a new X-Men team show up. And so everybody's trying to figure out, like, what's this new X-Men going to look like? We learned that Dr. Doom's getting his own X-Men team because, of course, he is. And anytime you can tangle up X-Men and Dr. Doom together, I'm on board with. And lastly, we're going to get the true origin of Nightcrawler and Mystique. They really advertised the Nightcrawler of it, but Mystique as well. And I'm glad to see that because I think it might reset Nightcrawler a little bit. I know he's been kind of going a little extreme with his adventure, so it'll be nice to kind of bring him back to what his character actually is.
Yeah, it almost looked like he was in a symbiote suit as well, which I was like, okay, how does that explain the origin and stuff? So that does look really interesting. As far as the con goes, though, from what I saw, big push for X-Men the Anime series. It looks incredible. Yeah. They're updating the animation. They're bringing back all as many of the original voice actors as they can. It looks so damn good. And there's so much push around it also from like a comic book level, from a toy level. it's really cool how the rest of Marvel from the different aspects are supporting it. And man, that panel was around the building. It was impossible. I waited in it, couldn't get into it, and ended up talking to another awesome content creator, Brandon Davis from Phase Zero on comicbook.com, which if you're not following Brandon Davis BD, like you're missing out on some of the coolest red carpet interviews and just like raw stuff, immediate reactions to things that you can get. He's so good at it and it was amazing and just awesome. Got to just sit down and talk to him for an hour, but really incredible dude. And yeah, kind of just the X-Men, the animated series. That's what got me into comics. I put out a video talking about the Deadpool and Wolverine costumes from that new movie. And yeah, an X-Men in the 90s, those comics, and then watching the animated series is the reason I like Marvel. That's the reason I'm a massive X-Men fan. And on top of it, I was super lucky this year too. We got to go to an X-Men party, which if you know and you've been following any of the latest runs, is called the Hellfire Gala. So once a year, it's like the Met Gala, but for X-Men. And they actually did a real life party here in San Diego. And me and my wife got to go. And it was so fun, man. Like people were dressed up in every type of costume you can think of. There was Captain Marvel and Mystiques galore and tons of Cyclops and like every variant of Wolverine you could think of. People were going all out. It was a blast. They had a Magna Margarita or whatever from Krakoa. They made it like a jungle vibe, so it felt like you were there. Cool. Then there was like, oh yeah, there was like a classic 90s animated room where it had all the characters cut out. I took a bunch of like stupid pictures in front of it. Man, there was an insane Kingpin there who doesn't really fit with the X-Men of it all, but he was from the Hawkeye series who was cosplaying, and the dude was spot on. There was a Storm that was spot on. I mean, an Archangel. I mean, dude, it was a time. It was a fantastic. Thank you to D23 and Marvel for putting that on.
I gotta say, I'm kind of getting this like building hype, building excitement that X-Men's back at the top again. Like it just feels good to be talking X-Men and Spider-Man, like the big dogs again in Marvel, you know?
Oh yeah. I mean, even to your point on the Punisher, that was big. Like, yes, these characters that we love are getting revamped. I think they're getting modernized for now, and they're adapting with what it means to be that character, that hero in modern times. And I love it. But also it's incredible how the X-Men, even though we're talking specifically the 90s one, is still relatable to today. I think the nostalgia of it all is coming back, but there's this time of like, that's the characters that got a lot of people into comics. And yes, highlight the X-Men, the animated series. Yes, highlight Larry Houston's X-Men. And also, I got to, stop me if I'm rambling, but I went to an X-Men fan panel, and they had cosplayers, they had podcasters, they had toy aficionados. Like, dude, it was really incredible. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but we'll have to link to it. There's this event coming up, I think it's in September, called the Uncanny Experience. And what it is a full interactive experience / con where you go to your own real world Xavier house for mutants. You get almost like a Harry Potter like outfit. You have a curriculum, and it's like, I don't know what it is, 3 to 7 days. I don't know all the details, where you get to immerse yourself in being a mutant at the Xavier Institute. Dude, it was awesome. They had a full trailer for it. I was like, where is it? Can I go? And he's like, it's in Minneapolis. I'm like, probably not going to make that. But if you are there, go check it out, man. It's, again, theuncannyexperience.com. I'm sure we can put it in the show notes as well. It looks dope. It looks really, really dope.
Man, I'm just so happy with I when you're talking about that, it kind of got me thinking, you know, this is the time to get that next generation to feel like Harry Potter, but with X-Men. Whereas, like, what if it was like if you joined, you know, Professor X's studio? You know, I'm trying to think of a time where we've had that angle or perspective. I think mostly with like in the movies, it was Rogue's perspective of being a new student. But I think that would be a really good idea, is kind of lean in what that's like to be a new student at the school.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope they update that and kind of make that work. I don't know if it's going to happen in Deadpool. I have a theory that maybe this is going to set up at least a new Wolverine for us to go forward. But yes, bring it back to the school, bring it back to how hard it is to have a double life of I'm a mutant here, but in the real world, like people hate me just because of what I am. And again, shoot, we got to shout out a bunch of content creators and stuff again, maybe in the show notes or online or something like that. But a lot of them were talking about how they felt accepted through the X-Men. Whether you're gay or trans or a POC person or somebody with a disability, X-Men was always that franchise that made you feel welcomed. And I love that aspect of it. Weirdly enough, I mean, you know, before an accident, before I became part of the disability community, man, I just always felt drawn to it. I always dug it and I always thought, man, you know, no matter what you look like or who you are, if you are a part of this community, you're welcomed. And we're only trying to make the world better. And we're trying to give you like a safe place for you to be you. And I freaking dug that always. And the animated series got me into it. But hearing the panelists and these people speak about it so amazingly and how it's influenced their life, it just like gives me like pride in being an X-Men fan. It's crazy. It's almost like a sports team, you know? It's like, I'm a big Seahawks fan. One day, Frank's going to wear a hat from the Seahawks, but
we'll see. Got the latest numbers on that. I doubt it.
But yeah, it like gives me that sense of pride being at that panel and seeing how much people love it and are tied to it. So yeah, man, what a time to be an X-Men fan specifically. It's just, made me so happy.
Yeah, so well said. And all the perceived weaknesses are strengths in X-Men. I always love that too. Where like, for me, it's always been like the Blob. It's like, oh, you know, the Blob by any other standard would be, you know, this character you would look down on and sure, a villain. But also that's his strength. And it's just like Wolverine has a hard time with the Blob. Like, it's just super cool. So that's, you know, X-Men's always cool.
Speaking about the Blob, X-Men Legends. So from Hasbro, I want to say they did a panel. I went to that one. The toys that are coming out, specifically one of them, the Blob, looks dope. Like so sick. It's a little, you know, it fits within that 6-inch figure realm, but it's a little bit bigger. Obviously the Blob, we're talking taller and wider and all that stuff, but he's so sick. It looks so good. And they made sure to highlight that action figure. Bro, I want it. All the toys coming out. They're doing a 90s
Tom
run.
McFarlane.
Like, you know,
Tom
the Vince
McFarlane
McMahon
is sharing shit too, dude. It's like killing me. I'm gonna be so broke.
Totally. You know the Vince McMahon meme though of him like escalating and going like, oh, and he's like lightning fire shooting out of his eyes. Like that was me. I was like, oh, dude, I want all of them. They look so sick.
That's why you're exhausted today.
I'm running on fumes, as you know. But actually, and it was actually my birthday yesterday, last day of Comic-Con, and for my birthday, my wife, I said like Borat, the helmet, there's a Magneto helmet that's an X-Men Legends like exclusive. Yes. And the whole weekend I was like, don't buy it. I put it on my wish list. Like I put, you know, I don't really care about gifts or anything like that, but I put it on my wish list because my family was asking. And I opened my birthday card for my wife and that helmet was like coming soon. I was like, oh, dude.
Sweet.
I'm so stoked about it. I saw people walking around the con with it. Go check out the Hasbro X-Men Legends line of toys. It is insane. It is uncanny and amazing. Go check it out.
You've mentioned other content creators, and I think, you know, this might not be as important for people listening, but for you and I, that's something that we definitely are always talking about is content creation and stuff like that. What was it like meeting other content creators there, and how did you interact with them?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things about San Diego Comic-Con, there was a lot of content creators that we see all the time, and they have pretty decent followings, and I've been lucky enough to meet Juju, Straw Goofy a handful of times and get to rap out with him. And another content creator who I've been following since the early days of the pandemic, you know, he had 10,000 followers. I think he has like 110,000 now on Instagram. But all of these creators that I got to meet this weekend, all of them were super incredible and super down to earth and are just like us. Man, I was so blown away. You know, Brandon Davis is interviewing Tom Cruise and The Rock and Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio and all these people, you know, and because of not getting into the X-Men panel, I got to just sit down and chat with him for, you know, half an hour to an hour and just go through what is a day in the life of somebody who is a content creator or a journalist for, you know, these type of movies and shows, and what is life like? What does it look like?
Yeah.
And man, it is You know, it's awesome. These guys are awesome. What you see on social media is what you get. I can't say one bad thing about Straw Hat Goofy. I can't say one bad thing about Brandon Davis. There's another guy out there, JPG, incredible as well. And man, that was honestly one of my highlights. Really getting to talk to them about what is a day in the life like. What are you doing, week in and week out, and just really have an honest conversation with them. And I could say what you see on screen is what you get in real life. So 100% highlight of the weekend for me.
I think that would have been my favorite part too, because with content creation, whether it be, podcasting, YouTube videos, anything like that, there's first off for the outside observer, there's so much more work in it than you understand. But there's also this passion that just like, I don't want to stop because it's just, I have so much passion in sharing all this cool stuff. And so these people who have bigger followings, whether that's, even without the bigger followings, like just when you see Straw Hat Goofy reacting to One Piece news, it's just like, man, that's the kind of guy at work you want to talk to, or your friend that you're just shooting text to real fast. And it's cool that they are those people in real life,
Absolutely. Yeah. Brandon, he hosts this podcast called Phase Zero, which is a Marvel focused podcast. Right. We're dropping a lot of podcast names in this episode of a podcast, but it's a really great MCU focused Marvel media focused show. And he does a great job. 100%. I just shot him a message this morning that was like, dude, you are 100% that guy in real life. Like what you see on screen is who you get in real life. I got a few behind the scenes too. He got to meet The Rock, and he's like, The Rock is incredible in person. Yeah. And he's a super fan just like us. I think the hard part sometimes of what people don't realize is like the travel of it all can really, it takes a lot of energy. Right. And I walked to him and I was like, dude, I'm a really big fan of your work. And you've been working so hard traveling around, and he's so humble, Brandon. And he was like, no, it's not hard work. I was like, dude, I had a travel job, where I would travel around to different places around the country and work. And it gets exhausting. And I know, and I see you do it going to Rome or London or wherever around the world to go do these interviews, and you keep up your energy and you keep up your attitude. I'm like, that's a lot it work. He goes, okay, yeah, thanks. I'll admit it. Yeah, it is a lot of work. So like getting to have those honest conversations is it was amazing. It gives a lot of maybe pride, and it gave me a lot of like reassurance, I guess is what I'm trying to say, in what we do. Yeah. As we put time and effort into trying to make sure everybody gets the latest news and how we feel about it and react to it, and tidbits and Easter eggs and comic book tie-ins, but they're doing the same thing. And just hopefully one day we get to that level.
Absolutely. Even if we don't, but I just, I just love doing it so much that I actually ran into this weekend. One of the things that I think is hard about being a content creator or a podcaster in just general is you kind of have to always be on as well. Like in the fact that like this weekend, holy cow, dude, how many times did I have to stop what I was doing because they just announced Last Ronin II? So these guys, of course, have to do that. They have a little more help than you and I do, but nevertheless, you and I have each other, and we have each of our own podcast groups too. That helps a lot. But it was so funny that I ran into a friend of mine who he had a podcast back in the day. He now guest stars on a lot of podcasts, and he'll be on Geek Freaks here pretty soon. But just talking to him about like, God damn, dude, I love podcasting and I'm never going to stop doing it. And he was like, I know, man. It's once you start doing it, you're just hooked.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. Like when Brandon were talking, he said a few things. I was like, damn it, bro, I feel like we should be recording this. And he just started laughing. He's like, yes, we should have. You know what I mean? Yeah, you can't help but think in that way. Yeah. And it's just so funny. But yeah, I mean, it's truly been a lifesaver for me. And it's just something I enjoy. And one of the things I realized from this weekend is I want to be around people who love the same things that I love. I want to be able to speak to people who are creating the things I love. And those things are what happen at San Diego Comic-Con. And it just reassures me even more that, I got to keep doing this and I love it. And we want you guys, whoever's listening, like come be a part of the community. Tell us what you think about the things you love. Like we don't do this to sit in a bubble and chat with each other. Although we like that, man, getting to go to different panels and hear other people's love for Marvel, for DC, for Image, for indie comics, for cosplay, dude, that energy is something you have to experience. And this is
Yes.
the reason you go to cons.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so well put. Let's go over a couple more things. Just some fast ones that got announced. Again, Last Ronin II. If you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fan, make sure you read number 1 right now. Last Ronin II is coming up soon. And they showed that it's going to be basically a new TMNT team that was revealed at the end of Last Ronin 1. But this team, I mean, IDW already kind of was like liking a tweet of mine. So I'm like, oh my God, please give me a review copy.
Yeah, don't spoil it for me though. I don't want any spoilers.
Oh
I'm
my
so
God.
afraid.
Oh, okay, I won't spoil anything, but you got to get in on that.
Go check it out, everybody. Yeah, go to your comic book shop, pick it up.
Marvel put a lot of time behind their Spider-Man 2 panel. This was kind of the Hall H replacement, and we got to see a lot more things. And this one, while previous to this was a lot of Kraven the Hunter, this one was definitely Venom. And they showed off a lot of the Venom stuff and kind of teased at who Venom might be. I think it's probably just going to be Kraven. I think that's the easy one, but we also have one of the Osborns back, so could be that.
Yeah. We finally get to see Harry.
What's that?
Right, because I think we finally get to see Harry.
We finally get to see Harry, so I think it might be Harry. Just, I don't know. He looks like he might be Kraven, but Harry's probably a good choice too.
Right, yeah. I mean, I saw a picture of him, spoiler, for End of Spider-Man 1, and I think he was there next to the symbiote or something. Mm-hmm. And then we now see him, and then he's also standing in front of with his dad, with Norman. So like, yeah, it could be Harry or Kraven. I kind of want them to go the Kraven route though, just for the size aspect, but I don't know.
Yeah, I want. To me, the size things are what makes sense. It's like I could see them just going with that, and Kraven as Venom would be a very interesting idea. Like he would still want to hunt. Yeah, right. I think it kind of just makes sense, you know.
Yeah, I think it's done one time before in the comics, so there is comic basis for us. Yeah, so that would be sick. That's kind of who I hope it goes to. Like, you know, Spider-Man and Miles take down Kraven. He gets angry. The symbiote's out. Then he takes the symbiote. Ultimate boss fight at the end. Yeah. And then, then the symbiote leaves, gets to Eddie Brock. Boom, you got Spider-Man 3.
That would be perfect. Oh, that would be so. The Spider-Man game is my most anticipated game of the year.
100%.
Some of the details we got from the game. Miles Morales is going to be facing off with Mr. Negative, who's from the first game. I did not know Mr. Negative from the comic books, but I really liked the character in game. Are you familiar with him in comic?
No, I didn't know him from the comics. The video game character was sick. You know, it's like, that's the thing with Spider-Man, right? I mean, it's similar to Batman. The Rogues Gallery is incredible. Yeah, right? All the villains are so good, and Mr. Negative was just another addition to an amazing lineup of Spider-Man villains. Just right. I mean, the look of him and everything.
I'm trying to think of like Batman villains that happens too, where all of a sudden you're like, oh, I forgot about that guy. That's right, he's a Batman villain too, and is also dope. And in any other situation, if he was a Flash villain or whatever, like that would have been a bigger deal. But because there's Joker or Green Goblin, you forget about everybody else. You know?
Yeah. Exactly. Speaking of video games.
Yes. What?
Yeah, dude, video games were massive this year as well. Diablo was there, which was really sick. They had an activation that was experiential. Like you go into this room, it kind of shows the intro of the game. And then from that room, they funnel everybody into like a church with these pews. And then there was this full interactive experience where the windows all of a sudden like turned from a day into like a bloody hellish nightmare, and there's like a pastor up front, he's giving this speech, and Lilith pops up from above him and then smites him down, and it was really cool. So it got me more hyped to even, I didn't finish Diablo yet. I want to finish it. I'm enjoying playing it. But yeah, that was sick. Trying to think of what else they had there. Star Wars Outlaw.
That's the other one. Yeah, that was a big one. Dude, did you have a chance to check out that? Because I want to see if they're actually bringing some props for that, or like not props necessarily. I don't know. To me, it really feels like Ubisoft is making sure they make a big splash with this game. Did they bring anything for it?
Yes. So they did a full panel with the writer, the head producer of it all, and one guy from Lucasfilms. And so they were talking about the actual tie-in to the movies, where this movie would exist. And I'm pretty sure it's in between Return of the Jedi and
Empire Strikes Back.
Empire Strikes Back. Thank you. And yes, so it is this time where the Empire is taking over the galaxy, and it's allowing all these syndicates to come up, and you're a scoundrel that's trying to survive in the universe.
Wait, I think it's New Hope. I think it's isn't it between New Hope and Empire Strikes Back?
No. I'm pretty sure it is Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Yeah, there's like this year where the Empire is fully taking over, and you're kind of in between the syndicates rising and the Empire slowly like closing in on everything. And yeah, you're just trying to make your way. So they talked about the character design. We have this cute new companion Nyx, which is awesome. They went heavy into detail about that. They went into the character of Kay. She's so badass, and they showed some behind the scenes of her doing the mocap and everything. Super cool. And then this story, like they have this really deep, rich story in it. Man, it looks badass. That's all I can say, man. It looks so good. 100%, I'm getting it.
Oh, dude, yeah, day one for me. There's so many, like, basically at this point, Star Wars games. After Jedi Survivor, I'm just like, yeah, I'll buy whatever you guys make. Honestly, I'm on board. They're so freaking cool.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a lot announced at Comic-Con. I want you guys to go to our website, gfpods.com or geekfreakspodcast.com. Either one works. Check them out. I specifically want you guys to check out Holy Roller. It's a new comic book by Andy Samberg, yes, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and Joe Trohman from Fallout Boys. Did not know they were friends. Apparently they are.
Right. That was my initial reaction too. I'm like, wait, what? How do these guys know each other?
Yeah. But this comic book is pretty cool. It's about a vigilante bowler. I mean, it's really hard to explain. I type it out all. That is trying to get neo-Nazis out of his small hometown. Cool. I'm already on my pull list. I'm definitely getting this for sure.
Right? Like, what a wild premise. And he looks badass.
Yeah.
Like, when you just say, oh, like a murderous bowler, you're like, okay, that sounds dumb. But when you look at him, the suit looks cool. It like looks like a vigilante, but then he's holding two bloody bowling balls and there's all these bodies around. Dude, it looks crazy. I'm so on board with it.
When you first see the suit, I'm like, oh, his helmet's a bowling ball. That looks stupid. But then like just a second longer, you're like, oh no, I'm starting to fall in love with this character actually. So
yeah.
I think with Andy Samberg attached, there's going to be definitely a comedy feel to it, of course. But I think it's going to be good. I think this is going to be really, really good. After Berserker and like the success of that one, I'm cool with actors wanting to make comics at this point. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, David Desmalchin also did a comic. If you don't know, like David Desmalchin is like secretly in every movie. He was in like The Dark Knight. He's in Dune. He was in Ant-Man, the Wasp: Quantumania. I mean, he was in all the Ant-Man. But yeah, and then he came out and did. He also had a comic book that released. He also had a movie that he produced, I want to say. And he also moderated for one of my favorite writers in Hollywood, Mark Bernardin. He did the moderating for the Splinter Short with some of the actors. Because it was an indie movie, the actors could be there. And Mark Bernardin, who wrote and directed it. And we got to watch the movie. And I was excited because I backed it on Kickstarter. And it was the first time I got to watch it. It's so damn good. If you have the opportunity to see Splinter Short, see it. But like, I was maybe 15 feet away from David Desmalchin. And I was like, oh my God, dude, like he's right there. And he's every bit as cool in real life as he is. Like, he plays like a very serious and eerie and creepy character in movies.
He's great at playing creepy.
So good at playing creepy, but he's like kind of just, I don't know. He is maybe like a Fallout Boy from 2006.
Yeah.
Like, he's kind of emo and dark, but also like joyous and happy. He's the man. David Desmalchin.
Was he also Polka Dot Man too?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And he was Polka Dot Man.
Everything. Damn.
He's secretly in every big franchise that you could think of. And yeah, just getting the opportunity. I had to run to another panel. Otherwise, I would have stayed and tried to talk to him. But I did get to stop by and talk to Mark Bernardin. And it was cool. Like we got to catch up from LA Comic-Con. And man, he is just blown up. He was on, I forget what the late night talk show is, but he was on Seth Meyers.
Seth Meyers.
Yeah. He was on Seth Meyers recently talking about his comic book, Adora in the Distance. But then he does Fat Man Beyond, which is massive. And then his goal was to create a movie or direct a movie before he was 50. And he was able to do that with the Splinter Short. So yeah, go check out all those things, man. It was, oh man, what a time.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, real quick before we go into our closing remarks here, just the SAG after of it all. Rules have been changing. Not necessarily rules have been changing. Rules have been clarified more and more over the last week. So as they get clarified, we kind of know what we're doing a little bit more. And it all comes out of respect on our end. So push come to shove, even sometimes the rules will be like, oh yeah, you can or can't do this. Out of respect, we'll do one way or the other. They had their own panel, actually. SAG after was there at San Diego Comic-Con too. I I just want to say on Discord, I posted an article by Variety, which I swear to God, they were like, we need to write something for Geek Freaks so they know what's going on. And it's like everything for us. It breaks down the rules in exactly what we do. And so that's why we're able to do movie reviews. So it's clarified that the journalist side of things, like where we're sharing news, like we were just sharing all this news from Struck Studios and stuff like that, that's all okay to do. It's not like they want you to stop doing that. They actually want you to continue to show the strength of the entertainment industry. So keep that in mind, guys. That is basically everything. I'm still going to refrain from reviewing movies here on Geek Freaks for a little bit. Challenge Accepted is going to have it all. So just go check out Challenge Accepted, which I think the two hosts are very handsome and great guys.
Oh, man, at least one of them is you, Frank. No, yeah. Again, this con, I think it would have felt wildly different in some aspects, with writers being able to talk about their work, with actors being able to talk about their work. And yeah, again, not political by any means, but we made friends with a lot of these actors. We've made friends with some writers, occasionally directors, we get to talk to them. And I fully think after seeing what all the rules are and what they're fighting for, it's more than well deserved. And, job security and all the above. But man, it felt like there was a little bit of a loss without them. And I want to be able to talk to these people. And I'm sure they want to be able to talk to the fans too and tell them why they're so excited about the work that they did and how much time and effort, right? I mean, like, it's so cool. It gets you hyped. That's the reason they do junkets. That's the reason why, that you do a red carpet for a movie. It's so you can talk to journalists about it on the way in and get little sound bites on why they're excited to share this. And yeah, it was a little bit of a gap there. I just hope they get what they deserve and they can come back and start talking about and promoting the work that they've done.
How did you like San Diego Comic-Con? This is your first time going. What was your impressions of the event?
I think they did an amazing job. They really did. I this is tough. They've done an amazing job. It still had all the excitement, it still had all the energy, it still had all the fans there, but it felt like some pieces were missing. Yeah. And again, I don't know if that's because of the SAG-AFTRA. I like to think it is.
There was a lot of last minute changes you could tell, like from my point of view, because while you were there, I was sitting there just getting as much of the news as possible together. And you could tell like suddenly things were announced, but half announced. It was very odd in that way, not like it's normally very well planned out.
Exactly. Like they do a good job with the schedule and breaking it down. There's so many rooms and so many panels and so much ground to cover. And they do these amazing jobs with showing this. But then you'd have to like go check the pillar and the poster in the morning because you'd show up at a room and then they'd be like, oh no, that's canceled. Yeah. Or no, that changed place. And so there was a lot of things I missed because they got canceled or shifted around in the time. And it wasn't, I don't know if it was announced as easily as I wish it was. Right. For that reason, yeah, it felt a little, I don't want to say disorganized, but there felt like there were some gaps.
Yeah, understandably in a lot of ways, but I would argue, yes, disorganized. Understandably is the key.
Understandably, 100%. And it wasn't their fault, and I think everybody that was working there did an amazing job. They got people moving through lines. They made things clear. They were nice and joyous about it. The staff for San Diego Comic-Con, incredible. All of that, the vibe with everybody and what they were able to do with that many people, so impressive. Yeah. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. I just hope that we can go back to business as usual next year because yeah, I want to see the big Marvel chat. I want to see the big Marvel releases. I want to see the big DC releases. And yeah, that would be great to bring for 2024.
That's true. That's good. Our next two big conventions that we're going to be focusing on and covering in full depth like we did this one, LA Comic-Con coming up and BlizzCon, which BlizzCon's my bread and butter, man. I love that one. LA Comic-Con, we'll see if I can make it down for that one. I would like to be able to help you out with the camera and stuff. I know that you got a lot on your hands doing this. So that's the next two big ones.
Oh, man. Yeah, I can't wait. Both of those are going to be awesome. And shoot, if they're anything like this, people are going to have a blast. I mean, it is definitely like Coachella for nerds. Like, it's amazing. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, guys, I want you to head into the descriptions right now. We've got links to a lot of the stuff we've been talking about. Links to our website that has 16 different articles about San Diego Comic-Con. And of course, over on Headlines, we've talked about everything as they are announced. So check it all out, guys. And thank you very much for joining us. Thomas, thank you for reporting from the floor, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, definitely check out Geek Freaks and check out Challenge Accepted every week for your latest reviews because, yeah, some stuff is dropping. This summer is hot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. All right, guys, we'll see you next week. Bye.